Rachel, and then Rachel's counterparts in England and Wales as well, or a particular area, then we need to raise awareness and raise understanding. The hope is perhaps that the survey could be run multiple times. It will go out to be used by people, again and again, and maybe we can track how things might be changing and how things might look different from now to 5 years' time.
I think one of the things about this survey is it's very much an opportunity for Shetland to be part of that consideration of what diverse marine values means in a UK context.
And that's all we have time for tonight. Make sure to stay tuned for Live the Land up next. From the team here, thank you very much for listening and have a good evening, Shetland.
Welcome to Lie of the Land, where I find musicians, writers and artists, and we take a wander through the Shetland landscapes that have inspired their work. Tonight, poet Christine de Luca takes us to Dale Oise, a place that she's kent for a lifetime. It was on a summer day that swung between mist and sun, wind and peace. But we actually start a pretty bit up the road, as Christine explains. Well, Christine de Luca.
Hello, Jane.
Where are we?
We're in Waz. We're at the War Memorial, right at the head of the road. This flat bit we call the Food. And yon's the school, Happy Hansel, just right yonder. So yon's the second school, the third thing, the newer one is just a hunt and the Aldine is up at the top of the hill. I'll show you that as we going by, but Ald Happy Hansel is up there. And my father was headmaster here for many a year, and we argued to the primary school here. And then when my mother and father retired, they moved across the Burn side, and that's just across the Burn, the pretty white cottage there, and we're there for a while. But my mother was brawly poorly by then, and never really managed to do all the gardening she would have liked to have done.
And he was a Pearson?
Pearson for Vidlin, and my mother was a hackrow for Coningsborough. And I was born in Bressa, where Dad had a job for 40 years after the war, and then there was the raising of the school leaving age, and the junior secondary's been built, and was had a junior secondary to be set up, so he got that job, and was delighted to do it, really.
And where are we going to go today?
Well, we're going to go to Dale Oise, Oise Tower, and if all goes well, the plan would be to walk along the coastline. It's a very rugged coastline. We're not going as far as Huckster, but maybe we might get ourselves, maybe towards Deepdale, or as some folk call it, Deepdale. Quite a steep valley where a pretty burn that comes and then flings itself over the banks and a pretty waterfall. So I don't know if we'll get as far as that, but it's a lovely part of the world I like very much.
I'll jump in then.
Okay.
Shall I?
It's a lovely burn. It's a gentle, broad valley, and it's just beautiful, very lush along the side of it. And the birds are calling, yeah. I'd listen to my father when we were bairns. He was he can't have the bird calls, and he could imitate them and everything. And because you have that kind of walking dictionary aside you or reference book, you don't bother to learn, because you just say, "What tuning, Dad?" And I just wish know that I learned them right. And oh, there you go. Too late now. And then the flowers, look, the ragged robins and clover, heather's not out yet, but. And pretty tormental.
Yeah, and Lucky Minnie's buttons.
Yeah, yes. No, what is that? A kind of a squirrel? I know. Scabious, that's right.
So yeah, tell me about your associations with this place and what kind of role it played in your life.
Well, we'd been this midwise and then down to Dunawaz, and Dunus. Dale was always the kind of far reaches of the place, and we used to come maybe for a walk when we were bairns, or down to the beach, play there for a while, and it's just some way I come back to, I suppose, as I grew up and get away. And it's fine to have places that you come back to and you just ging to on your own and you mind things. And I'm been lovely walks with friends like Iris Sanderson, or she was Iris Icewester, for was school pal, and it's great going and walk with her because she minds other things I can't mind. And there was one time when we walked out here, and I don't have awful good clear eyesight, see. I'd been somewhere before the day before, and I was just in a room and I looked out the hull, and here was a pony, but it looked as if this pony had this young lass on its back with a sort of a diaphanous white lang, either her hair or her clays was, and it was just fleeing around her. I think the midges must have startled the horses or something, and it just dashed across the hull with this pretty lass on its back. And of course, when I got me glasses and pat them on, it was just a lang white man, this pony, down nearly to its feet in the wind, and you kind of as it was running. But it was quite a view. Well,
what a vision, though.
Like, it was a vision. Well, the next day, Iris and me was walking up our this walk up when we got a bit higher up, and we got to a place called Vanyanus, which hopefully we'll see today if it's not over musty, and we startled this ponies, and there must have been a dozen of them, and they just took off up over the hill, and of course I didn't have my glasses on, so it was the same kind of feel, but it was absolutely like the Valkyries, or as they say, Valkyries, but we call it the Valkyries, fleeing for battle. This vision. Oh, the Turks are here, that's good. So that ended up a poem called Washed with the Valkyries. Really, just about this walk that we're doing.
But that's the title of one of your 7 poetry collections.
Yes, and I mind Tessa Ransford at the Scottish Poetry Library saying, "No, I don't think that's a good title because people not know how to pronounce it." And I thought, well, maybe she's probably right because she's a very experienced wife, but I just thought, I quite like it.
It's a kind of epic ring.
Yeah. So
This is an epic place.
Absolutely epic place. So I thought,
no. Lasses riding ponies with great white capes in.
I know. There's something to be said for eyesight that's not perfect.
Yeah.
You see the world in all kinds of guises. In fact, my newest collection, Vive, which means clearly seen, has quite a lot of poems about the way in which we perceive things, not necessarily see them clearly, and the good things and the bad things about it. Now there's a sea on coming in over. Imagine when you were a half fisherman with a boat down here and a day of distress trying to come into your own nest.
Big swell.
Big swells.
White breakers, yeah.
It's quite a rugged coastline. Or on a day like this when it's musty and sticky and difficult. But they did.
I think the seeing thing, it makes me think about when, if you hear a song like through the wall and you can't hear it properly, but your brain knocks into something else, and then you come up with a wholly original song because of that.
Well, I'm no good at that. But yes, it must be kind of similar to that. Lovely. Indeed. When going down over here, we should be able to see the brooks of the Noosts for the days of the half fishing. If all goes well. No, I love the way the burn comes down here and is almost dammed and almost goes backwards by the air that's been flung up by the sea. That comes into the poem. I used to be a geography teacher, you see, a long while ago. But I love that kind of physicality of the landscape, how it came to be.
Yeah, you write about landscape a lot in your poems.
I know, I'm probably seeking fuck with it. Anyway, see if we can go up here. That's the Noosts here.
Oh yeah.
Quite big.
Well, these are substantial.
They're substantial Noosts.
Rocks on either side.
And they're still there. But I mean, it's quite a job getting a boat up that slope.
It's a steep slope with a deflated rib in here.
Imagine at the end of the season just tying that boat up and leaving there, and Kenny should be pretty safe. And they'd come back the next season and she'd be taken down again. And presumably during the fishing season they was just mostly lying off, unless it was awful all weather. But there's a fine beach for it.
Big broad shingly beach.
Yeah.
With a scarf.
And I think there was Sannas and Was folk involved. I think the boats were maybe owned by Was Ain, but some of the Sannas men coming as well as a third. It's fine to see that they're some. I don't know how successful it's been, but
Well, if they're no bird flu yet, then I think they're doing okay.
well, yeah, terrible, absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking about landscape and the sea, and the way you describe the sea, there's a great bit when you say that the sea is like it can greet and sing at the same time. I love that.
I like that. Well, it's kind of true. It gives you all kinds of feelings. There's never can mind. No, or English, I don't think it's like cormorant. Scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ducken. Yeah. Yes, it has a amazing emotional pull to the sea.
Yeah,
very moody.
And you've been in Edinburgh for a while now.
I've been far or lang. Longer as I care to admit. Yeah, I get south as a student and I kind of got stuck there, as you do.
As you do.
What the marriage and job and all that kind of thing, and you get stuck. But I thought I'd come back to work here, but of course life is complicated, doesn't it? You work out the way you would want it to. But that's okay, it's fine. Edinburgh is fine enough.
And it does have the sea, but not like this.
No.
The look you just gave me.
Yeah, I mind when I came first to Edinburgh as a student, I really just felt awful crubbed in.
Yeah.
I just could hardly breathe, and I was desperate to get. And if you go out to what they call the countryside, which is everything other than the city, or as they say in Lerwick, the country, then everything was fenced in. And really, there's verges and the occasional beach. You really
you weren't allowed.
You weren't allowed, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
You just longed to get out, just to be free.
So I went to stay in Edinburgh as a student in 2007, and I felt so closed in. And I would go up to the top of the museum that was free, and you could sit at the top and look over the rooftops of Old Town, and that would make me feel a bit better. And I would go up like the Gothic rocket, and I would sit up there at the top of the Scott Monument just to have that feeling that again I just missed so much. And
I know.
Yeah,
it's a funny thing. I remind when we were bairns, we get to, of all places, Tom and Toll, the highest village in Scotland, for a summer holiday. Mum had to go out and buy us warm bricks. It was that cold. It was July. It was far colder as here and rainy. Anyway, there was one day we were going to go down to the coast, and we had our pretty old car. We were all crammed in. And as we come over the top of the slope that we eventually come down to the Murray Firth, we argued, because we suddenly realised we'd all missed the horizon, we'd all missed the sea, because we'd just been completely landlocked. Yeah.
it's a physical.
It is a physical thing. It is absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is the first bit of the poem was to the Valkyries. Dark burn te vo, a wrinkle be nederdel, trust slow slocket in a seabald air. At the beachedel noests gaan het voelen, turn vod in to her shawls. So that's the first pity bit, kind of about this area. And then if we later on, I'll maybe read a bit about more.
When did you write that?
Oh, a million years ago, 1997. So I probably read it maybe 1994 or 5 or something. And yon
These lovely illustrations.
Yeah,
Is it watercolour?
Yeah, Alexa Rutherford, and Jan's full of Yandru, and this is the vision of the Valkyries that she managed to put. I was trying
Big
to
horses
explain
like galloping over the hill.
Yeah, and the lasses on their backs. And then this is a piece of a letter that Mum wrote me, just a pretty fragment, something about we go to Dell and walk down to the shore in the sunshine, full of lake, clear and still, like an uncut jewel against, I think it was something like an azure sky. She'd a turn of phrase, and I just thought it would be nice to put that in with full just shine there.
So this is a place that you associate a lot with your mum?
I do, yeah, I do. She loved it. It was quiet. You could come one. I think when she teach as well, and I think when you're among bairns and folk at a time, just sometimes to go somewhere quiet was fine, yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. She's quite a private person as well in many ways. You kind of had to be discreet when you're working in a pretty place and you can't anybody, you're teaching anybody, you cannot afford to make fish and flesh. You had to just keep yourself kind of pretty bit to yourselves. Just, it's no easy really. No.
Diplomatic job.
Well, it is. She wasn't the most diplomatic person. She's quite feisty. Yeah. I think I get a bit caught in my feist with her.
Yeah, there's even a signpost to tell us that we're on a coastal walk.
Coastal walk, yes.
Just in case we weren't sure.
Yeah.
Here's the mallees playing in the wind.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
And they come so close and then they glare at you with a beady eye. What are you doing here?
They're just practising a lot of the time, youngins likely. They just seem to enjoy playing on the wind and...
Well, I mean, maybe they are just playing. There he goes.
Yeah.
They just make your heart soar.
They do, yeah. Cackle, 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 cackle.
Yeah. I love that noise when there's loads of them like echoing in the banks. I would say the coastal paths come to a slight impasse here.
Yes, I think more here.
We're trying to get through, but there's a old railing. We'll just imagine, Fuller.
Yes. Well, she has an imaginative quality, does she know?
Yeah.
I think this is coming on to Murnus. I'm not quite sure what Murnus means, but of course the Murnus up in Unst.
Tell me a pretty bit about using dialects, and you've spoken a lot about the way that languages and dialects are demarcated and what's dialect and what's language and using it in poetry and literature.
Well, it's a vexed question in some ways, and at the moment it's quite topical again. I mean, Shetland is kind of no tiny grip of the language issue, but mere folk I speak to abroad, they can't understand why I call it a dialect. And I feel myself uncomfortable with the word Shetland dialect and uncomfortable with the Shetlandic tag, which is maybe what folk abroad would understand it better as. So,
what do you think about the idea of it being called Shetland?
I think it's fine, I like it, because that's what we say. Yeah. I'm speaking Shetland, and okay, folk would just have to get used with that, wouldn't they? And to be honest, I think it's a political issue rather as a linguistic one in some ways. And as far as I'm concerned, just big up the literature, keep speaking it, keep writing it, do your best. If we can draw the spelling together and have a more consistent pattern, I think that would be a good thing for the sake of bairns learning. And as time goes on, if we need folk to be able to read and write it.
You mean like a more standardised?
Slightly more standardised, but still look at the word and say it the A&Y, which is what we do in English.
It's one of the challenges with that though, that there is still a lot of variation.
There is. I've been translating a Bairns classic called Le Petit Prince, you maybe heard of, Little Prince, written by a Frenchman in the Second World War time, I think. And it's been translated into about 160 languages, and the German publisher was asked if I would maybe have a go at it in Shetland. So I did. And then with the recent interest in maybe trying to standardise things a bit more, I've been trying my best to not be lazy about the way I spell. And I kind of have lazy bits. I added theirs and theirs and that's awful awkward. So I've been trying to sharpen up there a pretty bit, and it's no easy. But I think if everybody compromised a pretty bit, we could draw together a corn and still say it with A&Y. And that's the important thing. Folk can look at the word, look and say it your A&Y.
If you're writing poetry, is it not kind of also a fun, useful thing to have different variations in the way that you can spell things to fit them into different kind of bits of poetry?
Well, it depends on the kind of poetry you're trying to write, I suppose. If it's experimental poetry or whatever, there's a place for that now. But I suppose my heart is thinking of the next generation, trying to make sure enough bairns and young bairns can read it comfortably and learn to write it and express themselves in it. Because a lot of folk are no native Shetland speakers, and if they're going to be maybe teaching, how do we help them to be able to teach it competently? And if it's all over the place, it's an impossibility.
Can folk who are not native speakers, can they pick it up, do you think? Can they write in Shetland, speak in Shetland?
I think we have a lot of effort. They probably can if we give them the right tools and we give them the right support and help and encouragement. It's no easy to get the sound or the range of sounds, but we are learning a foreign language, and surely that's a good thing. The problem is that for us it's just done it intuitively. It's hard to express sometimes the rules that is underpinning it. I mean, I was communicating with Vivica, the linguist. She's been working hard on this, having a dialogue about the word to. So te, ta, gan to some way, gan to the shop. We say ta, we say te. We also say till. Why do we use one and why do we use another? Yeah. And Laureen and me were having a discourse about, Laureen Johnson and me were having a discourse about this on email as well. And it's awful handy just to think, well, when do I say that? Laureen said about the unstressed vowels, a for unstressed vowel. And then I thought, yes, and also like a for a unsounded ha. So he said till himself. That kind of way you might say till, which is maybe quite an old way of saying to, but we still use it, and it'd be a shame to lose it. But on the other hand, we do not say it for other occasions of using the word to. We have a lovely range, and why not kind of use them all?
Well, yeah, every language has a complex grammar.
It does indeed.
Yeah. Far out, this place is amazing.
We're coming out towards Munis. I think you're maybe Munis, Yundro, but it's a really broken up coastline. We had the stacks going out, and if you think about where the coastline was at some point in time, and it's just worn away, caves and arches and everything broken down, and then gradually back. And of course they'll break the power of the sea now and take a bit of the power off of the cliffs, but it's still got plenty of power.
This is it looks kind of Lord of the Ringsy here, because it's like the gush on top of the stacks here is so green, and so dramatic, like the shapes of them. Massive cliffs here, but it's all like shrouded in fog. Oh, there's a pretty tasty. Look, come and go.
Very busy pretty birds.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. It's just an epic view, isn't it? With like the big boulders at the bottom of this beach, and the sea foam coming on it. You were going to read a pretty bit more of this poem.
I'll read it. I'll maybe read it and then see if it makes sense as we go along. So I'll read the whole thing. Wast of the Valkyries, dark burn the vo, a wrinkle be nederdel, trust slow slocket in a seabald air. At the beach of Del, nusts gan at fulla, turn vod in the her shawls. For Munis, she's held in an artist's hand, Valhalla, veiled paradise, built like a saga to swell their heights with every seeing, every telling. Vanyanus means what it's meant, headland for pasture. Ponies startled there, tack to the hull. Their manes luft like a dozen Valkyries fleeing the battle. Land and sea is still a skirmish. Unaware, selkies roll the laybrack, bask safely on Cellier. And kittiwakes cruise, effortless roller bladers of the banks. The ern at eens rolled dame is langing for his stack, Every sea beicht riven fae dell to deep dell, his jaws are risped wi' jackals. Time is measured here by the sea's favours, a terse, a taking, grinding, a endless beaching. But for wiz, travellers of the western age, it's a time to tack, to pick our gits were ta'en or no ta'en, on this our longest voyage.
It's a great sense of like zooming out and thinking about time and life and the universe and the slow grind of the sea.
Yes. But seeing the mallees playing in Lickion, it's just beautiful, isn't it? And to me, it's just like a line of Warren Donald jackals out the under.
I think poetry can open their eyes to the natural world a bit.
Well, I would like to think that it does. I mean, I quite like writing quite simple poems, really, that folk that maybe wouldn't read a poem normally might be able to make sense of and get the hang of and maybe even enjoy. I very much like the sound of words, and okay, that kind of makes it different for prose in some ways. You could tack the line breaks out and see if it would work as prose, and maybe it would, but I like to think it's a pretty bit more added value on a good day.
And you've written a novel as well?
Toi?
Yeah.
But I don't see myself as a novelist. I'm no itching to get on with a nithering or anything like that, no. But it's in both cases it's been things I've wanted to write about for a while, and this last thing, it's just come out. The Trials of Mary John's Daughter is set in Waz, and at Brunatwat up by Stove is where Mary bides, and she's a real person in the 1770s when Old Happy Hansel was built, that era. So there's a lot going on about the school. But also that's when an immigrant ship for Caithness got completely bluttered after the Butler Lewis trying to get to America, and was blown out of way a couple of 100 miles northeast and came lumping into Wasvo in the face of winter. Then there was another awful storm and she was on her side, and the folk had to be billeted. 280 immigrants, can you imagine? Looking into winter way. Maybe hardly enough meat for yourselves. So to me it was the kind of stuff or a story, but to try and get as much historical fact as I could. And actually the Kirk Session records was really interesting, and they were written by the schoolmaster George Gregg. He had quite a good hand. He was a session clerk, although it's old-fashioned terminology and everything and crubbed up writing and sometimes to save paper. He had a lovely style of writing, and they're very detailed. So by reading on, and I thought to myself, I bet you anything the Kirk got involved in that. And within just a few days, the Kirk Session was meeting with the immigrants. I thought that was interesting, and trying to make some arrangements and whatever, and raise money for them, and have days of fasting and penitential days and that kind of things.
Penitential
days? Yeah, penitential. And
what did that involve?
And being penitent, and well, I suppose there was still a pretty bit of superstition that bad weather and bad luck was maybe you could
brought it.
Maybe you'd brought it to a certain extent, and maybe you could do something about it. Yeah. I don't know, I mean, it's an old word. But folk did give money and help at them and whatever. But anyway, poor Mary, because there was a lot of sailors came up shore as well, and that's always a bit disruptive. And poor Mary got into trouble. So that's her story, really. But she's a real person, and I really enjoyed doing it.
How did you find out about her?
Well, just through the Kirk Session minutes. Because I kind of wanted to write something, but one of the big stumbling blocks for me was, I mean, I've been thinking about it for about 10 years, but I can't folk with to speak in Shetland dialect, or in Shetland. And I just thought, well, there's no publisher going to accept that. Maybe even the Shetland Times would be you can just thinking, is this going to sell? Because that's the bottom line. Will it sell for them? So I pat off, and I thought, well, if they were to say what are it done, I couldn't do that. I would rather just put it on the web as a freebie, and folk could mark out as they wanted. But anyway, Lewis Press were very good. They said, no, that's fine, we'll go with it. But then they've done a couple of books for me before, Shetland poems in them. So I think there's less fear of it now among publishers.
I think there is, yeah. And then Malachy Taluk, the valley at the centre of the world.
Right. But it doesn't have an awful lot of dialect in it.
No, it's not all dialect.
No, and I mean that's a mere acceptable level to a publisher, to be honest. This is probably pushing the bounds of acceptability.
I suppose I just mean kind of, if Fox still had this idea that they couldn't understand any of it and you needed a dictionary, then a lot of the dialogue in that book could be, according to that idea, not understandable, whereas it was, it sold very well and it was popular. So I think that is changing.
It is changing. Folk will make a bit more of an effort, I think. But we'll see anyway how it goes. But I really, really enjoyed writing it. And
maybe that's something to do with the whole kind of Shetland becoming this very more romanticised, mythologised kind of place, and like the BBC drama and just a bit more popularity in folk. Like, instead of it being weird, it's like, it's really cool.
I have a kind of a bit of a problem with some of that, I hate to say. Folk can kind of make it. Orkney became very, very sexy for a while. Everybody was going to Orkney and Orkney this and Orkney that. Shetland was no way. And then suddenly it became sexy to go to Shetland. Oh, you've been to Shetland. Oh, I love Shetland. Oh, blah, blah, blah.
You got a holiday home in Shetland?
Yes, and Shetland market and all this kind of stuff. It's all terribly, terribly with it and exclusive. But there's nothing exclusive. And then, of course, folk know how to go to Antarctica to try and get exclusivity, and they can't even find it there. And I think, good, just done again. Left the Antarctic and piss. But then I'm a kind of strange person, maybe. I
was talking to somebody for Faroe, and he said they have a real problem with like too much tourism.
Yeah,
and that I was kind of surprised. Well, Iceland, I kind of kent that, but I was surprised about Faroe. I thought they were kind of not really on the map so much.
No, see, an awful lot of cruise ships now tack in. Yeah. There's one in Shetland nearly every day in the summertime. It's fine in a way. Folk get a pretty taste of it, and they do a pretty tour, and they maybe buy a pretty something or other, and then they get back on board and off they go, and they've done Shetland, and then tick, yes, bucket list, and they're off to Faroe for a day, and then they're off to Bergen for a day, and then Iceland, and they do the golden tour in Iceland, and the ship discharges all her dirt into the water, and folk get very annoyed. However, that's the way it goes. I've got something like a grumpy old wife.
No, I think these are big questions that we have to be thinking about in terms of what kind of place we want to live in, and how we're going to make money, and how we're going to be sustainable, and what fits into that model. And I think we can easily get taken down a route where any tourism is a good idea, and I think you've seen that in Skye. And we've seen what's happened there.
Ruined completely.
Didn't it, folk?
No, and the North 500 is gone that way as well. The road taking you round by the Northwest Highlands. And it's just not the same, really. One way would be to say, well, put in an awful lot more facilities for folk, then build a motorway, I suppose. But then the very thing you're going to see and enjoy and savour is gone. And that's the two-edged sword of tourism, is always like that. And funnily enough, I think there's something in the human spirit in the Western world that likes to see what they think is folk more backward as them. Like you're going to some pretty out of the way place in Greece, and you see old women in black sitting on a chair outside a pretty shop doing some lace work, and you think, oh, isn't that lovely? Well, I'm not sure. it's the same kind of thing, wanting the old ways. And the old ways was really hard for folk.
And if you romanticise something and then sell it, does it still exist?
Yes, and if it's no your authentic culture, are you appropriating it? Yeah. I think Shetland's been awful bad at looking after its heritage in some ways. And it's fine to share, it's lovely to share, but then other folk take it and they're the ones making the money with it. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure this is a great idea.
Gives you a kind of funny feeling.
It gives me a kind of an uneasiness about it, yeah.
A bit motorway in the North Coast 500 makes you think of the Cheery at the Stag and the Black Oil, and what the guy called Chuck 'em Up. We'll put a cafe on top of this Munro.
Yeah, indeed.
But Ken, at the same time, we're standing here, and a lot of folk come to Shetland to just walk and look at the birds and stand in a place like this, which is the most. What more could you ever want than to have this view looking out to sea here? Even when
you can't see full.
You can't see
it's what yonder, honestly, it is. In all its beauty, but today it's hiding.
Okay,
right, wander on. We just come out of pretty headland, and there we are again. Wow. Another set of stacks and things. No, I wonder if you want the Erin stack. think it might be the Ernstack. I need to get out the map.
Yeah, let's see the
One of them is. There are a lot of Ernstacks around Shetland, of course.
Where was it that the last one was killed?
Where?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know,
I
Keen.
read it, I forgot. Well, it was the Vogue thing, wasn't it?
I suppose it was. You'll find the Sam that Ganawa for him is quite a painful thing. Although you're excited and you want to try new things, there's a pain involved in that, and a kind of guilt as well, leven. Also almost to the point of bereavement, that you had to kind of work through. And my way I think of working through it, when I kind of realised that I'm not going to be able to settle back here really, was the writing. I think I would been writing pretty bits in English, but I started to write more and more in Shetland, and I think that really helped me to feel I'm not completely cut off. There's still a bit of me that's still there in my culture, is still inside me, and nobody can take that away. So I think that does help me a lot. Maybe it doesn't help other folk. When you're folk come older as well, there's that guilt as well that you're no senior to be a help. But also in my case I felt I'm not passing on to my son so much richness. There was no great value. He enjoys it, and he comes to Shetland sometimes, he loves it, and he can understand what I'm saying when I'm here now, but he can't at least say muckle himself, and you can, I just feel.
And where does he feel like he's from?
Edinburgh, yeah, he's very much Edinburgh, and he's quite comfy with that, yeah.
Yeah, there's a big thing about passing things on. There's fewer and fewer dances. There's dances that we're forgetting. Yeah. And if you're no here and having bairns and passing that on, then you can't really complain about it.
No, that's right. You can't. You have to work at it, don't you? The musicians are great at passing things on. I think they're a great inspiration to us all. The way they work together and keep things going and keep traditions alive and build on new ideas, and take it out to the world, and yet are still playing around the halls and whatever.
And it definitely doesn't just happen. Like, that's a lot of work that folk put into to keep that going. Yeah.
They do, and just total dedication. I was at Celtic Connections this winter in Glasgow for one event, taking a very minor part in it, one of the concerts, but it was fantastic. There were 7 Shetland fiddlers there, just the standard. I mean, it was world class, absolute world class.
I was watching bits for Moscow
Really?
and just feeling like, yeah, God, I would have given anything to just time travel there.
Absolutely.
Time travel?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the joy they have in playing, they could have played all night, sharing tunes and acknowledging one another.
And do you think writing, are you quite optimistic about where things are at with writing in Shetland? Like, not just in dialect, but writing in general?
Yes, I am. I think for a pretty place it's generated a lot of writing, and I think a lot of folk are interested in it. Yeah, I think so. And I mean, the social media certainly can help it folk experiment with writing in dialect or in Shetland, and that's great. It's helped it to have a whole new generation find their feet and realise it's worthwhile. Also, I mean, the New Shetlander is a wonderful quarterly. No, quarterly. No, it's thirdly, 3 times a year. But I mean, that's a power of work that folk are done for all that time since 1947. It's the only literary magazine I ken that comes out on time. It says when it's going to come out, and it does. They keep up a pretty good standard, really.
They do.
And there are no many pretty places that have anything like that.
But again, can they've had they've said themselves, like the last couple of years have been quite tricky, and there was a doubt over the future of it. Can you do need a lot of folk to come and say this is valued and we want to keep this?
That's right. It absolutely does need that. And I mean, I was really kind of incensed, like when the marking in schools was stopped. I think it was something like £40,000 it was costing a year, and I thought £40,000 is nothing in the education budget. And it was such a fine way of bairns interacting with folk in their community. There wasn't teachers, but they had an amazing skill, sitting there with the bairns, speaking to them, helping them, teaching them. And I think, how many good lessons is there in that? The respect for the skills, the respect for the folk coming in. And I just thought, what a shame. But then, of course, Perry Makers started up. But that takes a lot of effort too. And I mean, it's great, but it did show about the Smedham. But I felt it was kind of sad that the Education Committee could not see that this was actually quite an important part of our heritage. No, I could be struck dumb for saying that, but it's just a feeling I had. You kind that. I mean, Lord help them if they stop the fiddle lessons and whatever. I mean, I kind it's been no easy, but that's surely a wonderful thing to get to bairns. You look at the experiment done at what's the place in Falkirk, the very poor part of Falkirk.
The big estate.
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of it now. But they gave the bairns a musical instrument, and it was based on the Bollimer Orchestra in South America. Yeah. And no, some young bairns is making their living for music, and the confidence that they exude, speaking about their experience of playing together, the discipline of it, the learning they did, the sheer hard work it was at times, but foot changed their lives. And I think it would be awful sad if there wasn't keep up the money for music in Shetland, because
and not just fiddles,
and not just
other
fiddles.
Instruments are available.
Other instruments are available, and yes, indeed. Yeah. They still play an instrument.
I used to play the flute.
The flute is
but
beautiful.
When I was at school, I could, because Lisa taught me. Then when I was at the big school, it was just classical that I was meant to do. And obviously at 13, you're not that into Bach, so I gave it up. So I just wanted to play folk music. Yeah. Difficult. We are trying to gay up, don't we? It's still sitting there in the cupboard.
Well,
but I really just like singing with folk.
Yeah.
My siblings.
Yes. Absolutely. That's the best instrument of the whole lot. It's your own voice.
It is.
You don't have to pack it up and put it in a box. That was actually, speaking of my mother, it made me think of that, because she got cancer later in her, quite a long part of her, maybe in her mid-50s, But eventually they gave for her voice box, and although she could speak, her voice was slightly different, but she couldn't sing. And she just, that was awful cruel. She just hated that. That was the worst thing of all, not being able to sing. You come round and then there's the iron stack and Sellier, or Sell Air, the beach. And then you come down to Deep Dell and up an hour and on towards Sannes and Huckster there. But I doubt we'll not be able to get at that distance today. No, we've had plenty of magnificent scenery here, we know.
We have.
Wow.
Look at that.
It's fantastic.
So blue at the bottom. Look.
It is. And yon lovely Frode. Carnanawad on yonder.
Lucky Minnie's butter.
Lucky Minnie's butter, is that?
She has everything.
She has everything.
Yeah.
Right, she's got Lucky Minnie's butter, Lucky Minnie's buttons and Lucky Minnie's ooh.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, anything other?
Lickly.
Uh-huh.
We're come back down the banks, down to the beach. Pretty bit more visible, but not a lot. And we're going to go back up the valley.
Yes, we thought we'd just stay on the other side of the burn this time and see if we can win up the dell that way. Okay.
I wanted to ask you about a poem about the factor.
The factor makes us rich.
Yeah.
Oh, mercy, I never can anybody ever read that. That's an oldie.
It's a good piece of social commentary about lairds and clearances and
that's
justice.
Based in the Lunnoness, Vidlin area where my father's folk came from. It's really about my great granny Janny. Is that we got that right? Let me see. My grandpa, his father was Alexander, and this would be Alexander's mother. That's right. So it's quite a few generations ago. Her daughter, her youngest thing was Babby, and I mind Auntie Babby. She was my great grandaunt. She was in the 80s when I mind her. And she died with a family, with Granny and Grandpa. And so it doesn't seem that long ago. And it was her mother that poem was about. Mm-hmm. So Auntie Babby was born in 1863. So it'd probably be maybe the 1870s, 1880s, that kind of era.
Height of the clearances.
Absolutely, and I think the Vidlin Lunna area had a wartime way lairds than say was that area had. And there was definite feeling about that. And this was a true story that when her man was away at the half fishing, then she did run with the mill. So it would be summertime, because that was the time when the mill usually ran down, and she was gone to gain. She had to go to the laird's shop. I think she had to go as far as Lunna, as far as I understand, and get it on a slit. and they keep it her waiting a day. And the folk thought that was terrible, that she had had this bairn, she had about 7 bairns, and trying to keep the craft going, and like old folk and then bring back this ball of meal or whatever it was, like on her back. I mean, what a hard life. And it was just the book of Amos in the Old Testament is full of that kind of ranting against the rich and powerful, and how the burdens they pat on the poor folk. I can't mind now, I think it's actually in the book I hear me bag. So the factor meets his match. You say we're in debt, but I tell you, master, I'm no axing for mair as we're share. You hear us in troke, me man hauling your toes up to the far half, and me sicking a pick a mill. You can send me awa empty-handed, kennin' where lamb that's been ta'en, and park lambs is glunching where our base were wont to be. You can find when his boat runs the Luna home, your beach shall be smored in fat tusk and cod, while we're black fantin skeeking up in a sparrow. Hath let me tell you, master, what Amos had to say to the house of Israel. The hull grinders keepeth the poor out of dicks awa for the rightful land. For as muckle as you're trucking as a poor folk, and you tak for them a herd and a bear, the fine houses that you built will be vod. Let judgment fall like a gill, and the right denin rin doon as a luppering burn. Sorrow up a them whas baits is well plenished, at lie their length up a soft rest in shares, and it the lambs of the tuns and the quakes out of the byre. Them that said, when will the new moon begin? Say we can swik the alaf, buy them for cellar, and the poor ammers for a pair of shoon, yeah, and sell out wellings of their its. I tell you, master, you can keep your mill, for the why the wicked shall perish, and their foil come to an end. That's Amos, chapter 5 up to 8, and a pretty bit for the Psalm 1, verse 6. But I mean, it rings in my lugs, you kind no side like you know, obviously, but there was the same issue of folk being all dealt by. It was hard times for folk, my mercy me. Yeah. How they keep it body and soul together, I don't know.
I think the Bible sounds really fine in Shetland.
It sounds great in Shetland. I mean, certain bits would anyway. Well, you think Shetland has a strong link with Old Scots. Old Scots are Middle English. The Bible is written in that kind of era. So the phraseology is kind of, that has syntax.
Especially flighting.
Flighting,
and you want your words to ring.
We're good with flighting. Yeah. And the old prophets were great flighters. There would have been a lot of families at one time in Dale.
A lot of families here?
Well, there would have been quite a few families in Dale. There was a pretty school here, pretty kirk here, and then away up the valley. And of course the road that came, that ging through for Dale was the Sanus Junction. Only came in the last 20 years or so, I can't mind. But by that time the folk was leaving up the dal. You can add the houses there. It could have, if they'd had the road a generation before that, they might have bidden. So it's kind of sad when the road comes just to tack out the last folk.
You've written about a lot of places, but it seems like this bit of Shetland in particular is sort of, well, obviously indelibly imprinted on your mind and gives you a lot of inspiration.
It does indeed. It's my favourite place. Since we're just coming a lovely pretty rapids on the burn now, pretty waterfall. Yeah, this bonny. I feel I'm written myself out though, no. I'm written that muckle, that what would I write now kind of thing. Feel that quite often now, that I'm maybe done what I can do and that's maybe it.
Has it been hard to keep up such a kind of production? You've written a lot.
I'm written a lot, yeah.
Well,
it just kind of comes to me. I've no discipline of and so I feel the want to it in some ways, and yet I would never just sit down to write because I felt I should. I'd have some sort of sense, some thought, some idea, some feeling that wants to be expressed, and I'm somehow the person that has to try and put it on paper. Somebody else might do it, but at the moment that might be me. I'm kind of maybe doing a lot of that, and maybe it's something that'll maybe I'll do something completely different though in my next life.
What, like joinery or something?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I've had several careers in my time. And writing was just a kind of a add-on. Maybe something like kind of like your marking, you just pick up into after your gangs and then lay it down again. And just big up writing off.
Yeah.
I've had some lovely work recently in English. I don't mean my work's lovely, I don't mean that of all, but opportunities with two artists, Victoria Crowe, Scottish artist, and Bridget Collins. Both of them sympathetic to the written word and quite interested in collaborating. So I'm enjoyed doing that, but that's very much in English, a different piece of my brain really.
Is it a different piece of the brain then? Yeah, that's interesting.
I think it is a slightly different piece. What's very different for me is writing novel, writing extended prose. That's decidedly a different part of the brain, because when I do that I cannot write poetry of all. It just goes. And because my brain is going in one direction and the poem would be a totally different direction. Okay. And I think Shetland poetry is pretty bit different part of the brain. Maybe very interesting to have your brain checked out by a, what would you call that kind of person, but you're fully caps on you with electrodes.
Scanning and...
Yeah, like that kind of thing. And
wavelengths.
And when you're maybe reading poetry or trying to write poetry in one way or another way, English or Shetland, or you're writing prose or reading prose, to see what bits light up. I think it might be slightly different bits.
This just ankle deep silver weed.
Yeah.
Lovely to wade through.
It is lovely.
Oh, now here's some sorrel you can show on.
Can you eat that? Yes.
Yeah, it tastes like I think it tastes lemony. Some folks say appley.
It's strong.
You put it in a salad, it's everywhere. So what do you do if you canna write and you're just sitting staring at the blank page? Just do something else or grind on?
Yeah, I don't worry about it, because I mean it's just one thing in life, isn't it? I mean I've plenty of other things I can do and folk I need to see and
plenty else to be getting on with.
Admin stuff of this sort, and there's something that I'm also quite been involved over the years in translation stuff, and noticed this morning there's a email in for a wife in Germany wanting something, and so before I sort that out, that'll take me an hour or two. But there's something needing done. So, yeah, life goes on. The world's not going to stop if I don't write anymore, that's for sure.
Again, translation, something that Christy Williamson's been involved in a lot. Do you think is that a particular thing of Shetland writers?
I think it's been a good thing to do, because it can demonstrate that Shetland can express what the language can express. And I'm doing stuff working through the medium of English. I mean, with something like Norwegian I can mark out, or Icelandic maybe I can mark out on the page the lie of the land, you might say, but I still need an English version of it to make sense, you can. Full sense of it. But also I'm having a lot of my work translated, and that's great fun seeing that happen. But it gives you this feeling that your mother tongue is actually quite able to stand up alongside others other languages. So we don't need to be shy about it.
Or ashamed.
Or ashamed in any way of our. But we need to look after it and do it as best as we can, and not treat it just like old clays. It's for old clays, but it's also a Sunday best.
I just need to take a pretty picture of this line in the girth. It's so funny.
Well, where it's damp, you get this other kind of coarse stuff.
Floss, is it?
It's kind of flossy.
But piri.
Yeah. Piri floss, it's apple piri floss, yeah. And there was kind of black girth up over by, and this is apple soft. We were being used to rip off the heads of this and scatter the seeds.
Here's the tree in summer, here's the tree in winter.
Yeah.
Buttercups.
Okay, yes, oh, there's fleas on them, lovely.
This is obviously a well-trodden path because it's kind of muddy. If somebody uses this.
Yep. It's just beautiful. It's so simple. Pretty burn, marking its own pretty valley.
Thanks for listening to tonight's episode of Lie of the Land. And thank you to my guest, Christine De Luca. The music that you heard was The West Side Brides March, Ian S. Robertson, written by Tom Anderson, and The Muckle Reel Finnegart. They were all taken for Katrina MacDonald's album Over the Moon. As always on Lie of the Land, we started with the Filska tune The Quarf Lasses, written by Joyce Reid. And now playing us out is The West Shore of Quarf by Jenna Reid. Good night.
Your smart speaker.
And on BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio Scotland.
The news at 7 o'clock with Phil McDonald. Good evening. A sheriff has made 6 recommendations following an inquiry into a fatal fire at a luxury hotel by Loch Lomond, which